Good morning. I am Ray Allegrezza of IFRA and editor-at-large at Home News Now, and welcome to the next installment of The Last Word. If this is your first time joining in, we're glad to see you, and a little background about what we do. The Last Word is kind of a podcast where we interview some thought leaders in this industry about topics that are on everyone's mind. Today, I am thrilled to have with us not only a friend, but one of the best reps in the business I know, John Pinion. Welcome, John.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
We're glad you're with us. And today we are going to talk about all things reps, things that are involving the reps. You know, the reps are the critical link between the supplier and the retailer. And based on things that have been happening in the industry for the last year or so, I think personally, and then I want to talk to you about it, I think the reps have been squeezed on both ends, and a new market dynamic demands new strategies and responses from reps. And so let's talk about that today. Before we do, John, for those of you who may not know you, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the business.
Awesome. I started off in the industry as a rep son. My father went on the road when I was a young boy, and he did everything he could to keep me out of the industry. I went to law school, became a lawyer, and went to business school, had a lot of opportunities with different corporations and even CIA. And by luck, my dad had an opening in 1998, and pretty much had to beg him for the opportunity to go on the road. And I've been on the road since. And I've had the pleasure of working with my father and then going on into the patio industry with Lloyd Flanders. And it's been a phenomenal ride. And I love repping. It's in my blood. And I plan to never stop.
Excellent. Well, with somebody, that was smart enough to get through law school, which I couldn't even pass the LSATs, and someone who's been in the industry for a number of years now, you've got great tenure. So you're the best guy to answer this question. In your opinion, how has the role of the rep changed, say, over the last 5 to 10 years?
Oh, dramatically. Um, and I'll start a little further back. When I father first started and I first went on the road, the objective was to run around as much as you could strategically to get as many as orders as you could, because the fax machine was pretty much the only thing that was available. The internet was not very widely used, and you pretty much had to go to get the order from the account. And a lot of accounts used to have a desk right when you walked in, and you had somebody to talk to, and sometimes there would be a line of reps to talk to wait with and talk chat with until you got your time. Then it evolved in the last 10 years. It became where companies, instead of buying a little bit from everybody, started making programs and focusing on certain lines to encompass more of the floor. So your visits became targeted to spend 3 to 4 hours with the dealer instead of an hour with the dealer, making your program for the quarter or even longer. And the biggest shift in repping has happened since COVID. Um, the biggest thing about happened to it is first we had a product shortage. There was such demand in the United States for furniture. You were selling anything and everything you could, and you were trying to scramble to get as much product into the dealer's hands. And since COVID, the demand dropped dramatically very fast. So dealers were left with a lot of excess inventory. And to make it even worse, the dealers were left with very uneven and unclean inventory. It wasn't always the best sellers, sometimes it was temporary buys that have not worked for the dealers. And the rep has begun to have to navigate that, to help the dealer get the floor back into shape. And also during COVID, there was a lot of turnover for the dealers. So the reps are having to do a lot more training and helping the dealers get their staffs up and ready to go. The other thing that's changed is when we were doing COVID, the dealers realized the internet capabilities, e-commerce capabilities were not very good. And so what a lot of dealers have done is they created an intranet where the reps have to do a complicated Excel spreadsheet, writing ad copy down to the detail of the SKU and it uploads into a website and the internal advertising as well as the buyer information systems. So the rep has had to even jump higher into a higher level in terms of technology to handle the dealer. It used to be a simple sheet where you wrote the SKUs on the information. And that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people who don't know technology, because my challenge is I went on the road yesterday. I was in the field all day yesterday. I got 4 requests for Excel spreadsheet to be filled out for dealers, and each spreadsheet takes about 2 hours to fill out because they're all dealer specific. So I've got about 8 hours of work to do after I finish this meeting with y'all. And then the one thing that's never changed for the rep, what you're trying to do is not just sell something. You're trying to create a win-win for the dealer and the company that you represent. And it's become a little harder to do that because business has not been so great in the last year, and they're dealing with a lot of over inventory. So you're trying to create different strategies to help them do that. And I love Ashley's term for reps, marketing specialist, because you've really got to put your marketing specialist cap on and try to think out of the box to create solutions for the dealers, whether it's a marketing promotion or a way to merchandise your product while mixing existing SKU items that you already have and bringing in new items as well.
Good. Speaking of COVID, let me go back for a moment. Do you think we're having a COVID hangover? And by that, I mean, during COVID, everyone was told to shelter in place. Consumers stayed home. Many retailers shut their stores. Reps did not call on retailers because A, the stores were closed, and B, there was really not a lot of activity going on. Did you find as a rep that once the bans were lifted and people could go out and about again, that some reps were still hesitant to go back to the stores? Did they get lazy, or did they just not get back in front of their customers the way they should have?
I think for sure the word is not lazy. What happened during COVID, the first 2 months during COVID, we all shut down. Most of the reps had to be at home. Everybody was at home. And then we had something happen that we could, a new surge in demand, which I call a false economy. You know, we've never had that many people in the United States not traveling, spending money on concerts, and they're at home and they're realizing they need the extra bed, they need the extra sofa, or they just absolutely hate what they've got going on in their home. They want to fix it, and that's where they want to spend their dollars. On top of that, there's a lot of government stimulus money. I can't, when the first checks came out at $1,400, I can't tell you how many $1,400 tickets we had in the furniture industry. So you became, even though I wasn't traveling, I was slammed at the desk trying to get product to dealers to take advantage of the stimulus money and this pent up demand. Um, and then as far as traveling, what happened was it was all varied. Some dealers wanted to see you and were ready to see you, and then some had policies for up to a year beyond the outset of COVID about visitation policies regarding the store. So for a while there, I had to write down what the visitation policy in my notes for every account just to kind of keep track of it. The What I will say, COVID not about reps being lazy or not traveling. It's more you had to adapt. And I go back to the internet. You know, people wanted internet information. They wanted it done in a new format for doing the SKUs. Right after COVID, in the heat of it, it was a matter of finding product. You're scouring your lines, trying to find product, something to sell the customer, or something for them to promote. And but once that false economy of COVID ended, literally people had warehouses full of product. And the first year after COVID, the best sellers kind of got cleaned up. Right now, the retailers have what I call is less than ideal inventory. It's not the best sellers. It's something they bought during COVID that they're stuck with, and they're trying to work through that product. And it's created a problem for the industry because it jams up cash, and not only cash but space. Where do you put new product and furniture? And so we're still navigating that process. And on top of that, right now, the retailers really, during COVID to now, they pretty much have the same product on their floors. They're really wanting a real big refresh of their floors. And we're in the process of accomplishing refreshes on the floor. But at the same time, you're contending with cash issues and space issues to accomplish that. But but I will say the industry, whether it's people in the stores or the reps, a lot of people are working very hard to make it smooth and seamless as possible.
Yeah. Well, you just touched on some of the things I was going to ask you next, but I'll just ask you to maybe drill down a little bit more. I was going to ask you, let's take a look at the playing field as it is today. And what do you see as some of the major challenges that reps are facing? And as a successful guy in the business that's rep, what advice might you have to minimize some of those challenges?
Oh, there's so many challenges right now.
Right, just give me the top couple.
Top couple, number one, just any business right now after COVID, cost of doing business. Most reps are 1099 employees. They pay their own expenses. And like in Texas, prior to COVID, the average hotel room was about $75. My average hotel room is about $125. The cost of food is a lot more. Right now, I'm averaging about $400 a day, average in travel. The reps in other areas can be even more expensive. Some parts of Florida, California, New York, I've heard as high as $700 a day or more the cost of travel. And if business is slow or your checks are not very strong for that month, and it's not always because of the rep, it can be because the buy customers are not reordering for the month because of a buying freeze, or the supply can't even ship because of some issues that may be happening.
Mhm.
So they need the cash to be able to travel. And I think that's what people lose sight of is reps are not employees. They don't get a guaranteed income. And if the commissions are not coming in successfully, they have a problem making it. The second issue is dramatic change. The biggest one is technology. You have to call on dealers. That can never change. You have to communicate with your dealers. That's never changed. But the biggest challenge now is you're not only communicating via telephone and visiting in person, you may have 1,000 emails to address daily. And the other thing is you have to be able to do uh, Excel spreadsheets that are pretty complicated, and you have to sometimes do digital uh, formats, and you have to be able to use the iPad successfully, a computer successfully. And if you're a rep that only knows how to show a physical hard book of pictures and printed materials and doesn't know how to use technology and incorporating it to their job, you're becoming obsolete. You're already obsolete. You're not becoming obsolete. You're already obsolete.
Right. So obviously, bone up on the technology, think digital solutions. Let's flip it now. What about some of the opportunities you see, even in a tough market? What would you say the top opportunities for reps are?
One opportunity that always remains, people will always need furniture. There'll always be somebody selling furniture at some point in time. And what you have to do is continue to seek out dealers and find companies that are selling furniture. And it stays simple as that. And that has not changed. What it is it's just a little bit different. There's not somebody waiting for you in the front of the store. You've got to find out where the buyer's located. A lot of times they're at a different location in the store, and you have to use email, phone call, uh, cold call when needed to reach those people. But there's still a lot of opportunity to be had in the furniture industry. And the rebound after COVID, this is not forever. There's going to be normalization, and we may have another surge at some point of business. And I think that's one thing I learned watching my father be in the industry since the 70s and me being in the industry since 98. There's ebbs and flows. Things change, nothing's static. I do believe, though, you have to be more adaptable than ever. And if you are, there's a lot of opportunity.
Good. So in your opinion, what are the top traits that make up a great rep? What does a great rep look like? What does he do? or she?
Well, number one, you have to love what you do. Two, you have to be resilient. Three, you have to be adaptable. And four, you have to be a good communicator. And if you do those four things, I think you'll be successful. The fifth thing I'll probably definitely is the obvious, hardworking. You have to work hard every day to try to create a win-win for you, your company, and your customers. And if you do all of those things, you're going to be successful what you do, and you're going to stay relevant in the industry.
All right, speaking of the industry and relevancy, it's not just reps that are challenged by this, but our industry, by and large, um, we're aging out. What advice or what would you suggest that IFRA does as our past president to attract and encourage and retain more young people coming in as independent sales reps?
It's a great question. Right now, IFRA needs to encourage companies and other reps to help bring in young people, because you pretty much need to sponsor a young rep. Because if it costs $400 a day to travel, they need some help in building a territory or stipend to get going in their business. I'm not saying overpay them or give them too much money, but at least they're not going to starve as they attempt to build a territory for a company or take over a territory for a company. And I'll use myself as a perfect example. My father brought me into the industry. He gave me a stipend and gave me a territory. I worked very hard. I had a little bit of debt at the end of it, but it wasn't so much debt that I couldn't overcome it and build myself in the industry. So I think that's the biggest thing. Companies with the assistance of ILPA need to really look at it. If your group is aging out, start bringing young people in and have a sponsor for them, and give them an opportunity to get known in the territory, learn the business, learn the line, and become better and stronger. Because one thing I will say, I talked about having a law degree, I was a lawyer and everything. Being a rep is harder than being a lawyer, because when I was a lawyer, I went to put for a jury or a judge. The judge and the jury, whatever decision they made, didn't affect them personally when they went home to bed to sleep that night. When you go to a furniture store, you're dealing with a buyer or an owner that's trying to make a decision on product they feel that can help their organization as a whole. Because if they make a bad decision, not only does it affect their job status, it affects the money, but also affects them being able to employ everybody in the building. So every business decision is very personal, and and you have to do a very good job at showing them that your company has a solution for them. And it's harder. It's a lot more than, I hate the myth of being a rep, just showing a picture and they buy it. You're selling a value proposition. You're selling that we can help your company succeed, whether it's a combination of product, ability to ship, price point, all those things, and
Good.
even service.
I love it. That's a great point. We're getting right near the end. I got one or two more quick questions for you, and I'll let you run. So say we get that young person that comes in and he or she wants to be a rep, and I say, I want you to have lunch with John Pinion because he's smart, he's successful. What advice do you give that person over lunch? What do you tell them to do or not do?
Well, get a good XM radio subscription, Sirius radio subscription, because you're going to be traveling a lot. You need some good music in the car. On the business side, you need to, for the first 2 to 3 years of your career, immerse yourself into the industry. And what I mean by that, get to know those customers out there. Even if they're saying no to you at the beginning, do not lose faith. Get to know your company that you're involved with. Get to know that, become an expert at your product. Also, read everything you can in the industry trade. Start to get a feel of the industry, but fully immerse yourself and make it fun, and enjoy the process. And one of the best parts of being a rep too is you get to taste a lot of great cuisine as you travel around the world. So the United States, not the world, but the United States. But immerse yourself and enjoy the heck out of it, and don't ever get discouraged, because if you can't handle no, you're not in a good person to be a rep. You're going to deal with a lot of rejection until you get some success.
Good deal. Well, John, thank you for your time. We call this podcast The Last Word because I give you, whoever I'm interviewing, the last word, not me. So final thoughts, outlook, you got the last word. Let me have it.
One, I appreciate EFA. I was so glad to be a part of it and still to be a part of it. It's a voice for the representatives in our industry, and the representatives are a vital cog. We've said it many times that they are the link between the manufacturers and the retailers, and anybody who feels that sales representatives and marketing specialists are not needed are severely deluded, because we are needed, and it's needed to build companies, retailers, and be stronger in this industry. And this is a great industry. It has great people, and sales representatives are part of that group.
John, with that, I have nothing to add. You said it last, you said it best. Thanks for taking time to be with us, and I really appreciate your insights.
I appreciate you.
All right, have a great day.